The former Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele illegally lodged billions of naira in no fewer than 593 bank accounts in the United States, United Kingdom, and China without the approval of the Apex Bank's Board of Directors and the CBN Investment Committee. The Special Investigator on the CBN and Related Entities, Jim Obaze, found that the ex-CBN governor lodged 543,482,213 pounds in fixed deposits in UK banks alone without authorization. Obaze submitted his final report tagged Report of the Special Investigation on CBN and Related Entities, Chargeable Offences to President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday. Emefiele, who is currently in Kuje Custodial Centre, is being prosecuted for 1.2 billion naira procurement fraud. Now joining us on the news to discuss this is Dr. Kuje Johnson, a public and policy affairs analyst. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me, Kuje Johnson.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers all over the world.
All right, so you heard this, I'm sure you actually read the story because there was a statement you made, while I was sitting down here. What do you make of the damning revelation that the former CBN governor actually operated 593 illicit bank accounts in these particular countries?
I don't know how Nigeria is still surviving. And you can see the reason why we can't compete and live up to the reputation of the giant of Africa that we have if this type of hemorrhage is happening to our economy over the years. And we look at this particular one, for this particular administration, in terms of the fraud, the alleged fraud committed against humanity, treasonable act committed allegedly by the central bank governor and his deputies, and then you situate that with what happened with Dezani under Jonathan and with the security money with Dasuki Sambo, and then you begin to wonder, what are the checks and balances that we have in our system? What are the safety net? And that's why I have it on record. There are many programs I appeared on that I said from the onset that anyone that says Buhari was fighting corruption was deceiving himself, because you can only fight corruption when you put in a system, a mechanism. You can't fight it on the pages of newspaper. And I will see a lot of revelation once Buhari is out of power. And it's coming to terms that the most vaunted leader that acclaimed to have integrity, acclaimed to fight corruption, that came into power on the basis of corruption, we are seeing the deep-seated corruption that happened under it. Right. The question you ask is, what are the safety nets that have been put in place so that the present central bank governor
doesn't repeat the same?
Doesn't repeat the same issue, because every administration, at the beginning of the administration, they will come up with an allegation against the previous administration, looking for scapegoat within the previous administration. For Obasanjo's administration, it was Al-Mustafa. It was Al-Mustafa that was. For Jonathan, Andoka, the Attorney General of Yar'Adua, ran away from Nigeria. Now, for Buhari's administration, it was Dezani and Colin Dasuki. Now for Tinubu's administration is Emefiele and the 5 directors. What will happen at the end of the day?
Okay, right now, Emefiele is actually being prosecuted for a 1.2 billion naira procurement fraud. Now, a lot of people are actually asking, how was he able to operate these bank accounts so discreetly, without setting off anything? And some people are actually saying or suggesting that those in charge of auditing and, every other person that should have known that these bank accounts are being operated should also be held accountable, and not just Emefiele.
The Attorney General of the Federation, then the Minister of Finance, the Auditor General, And all those that are part and parcel of the economic team of the president should be prosecuted because they committed a great crime against this nation. If you look at you could see why naira had a free fall. You could see why naira totally collapsed. You could see how would you be keeping such amount of money in foreign accounts and you can't use it to stabilize your own currency. You are helping to build the economy of other nations at the expense of the economy. So it's an economic sabotage. Beyond, look, if this had happened in China, you know what will have happened to this set of people? Firing squad. They will be executed. It's the ultimate price they will pay is the death penalty. Because do you know how many families have lost their lives as a result of the actions or inactions of the central bank governor and those? I read that even the president did not give approval to the redesign, that it was the aid of the president. So how many agencies, how many ministries, how many departments of government exploited that loophole that existed? If we are just focusing on just one of the sector of the economy, if we go to that's why some of us have advocated that we should have a clean break from the past. That those that were retained from the previous administration should have gone with him, like the MD of NNPC. If a searchlight is thrown into NNPC, I'm sure we'll make discovery just like we are making discovery, whether there was subsidy or no subsidy, and how the various subsidy payment we have made in the past, how they have gone.
Okay, now you talked about, these people responsible for, finding out, also being held accountable. But what does the inability of these people and also the regulatory bodies that should have detected, this mass amount of, of monies in these bank accounts, what does it suggest?
And don't forget, it's even the last administration that was celebrating whistleblower. Where were the whistleblower for this particular one? Where is the National Assembly? The National Assembly has turned itself to a rubber stamp in the sense that their oversight function, the banking committee, the committee on banking, both for the House and both for the Senate, what was their function? How did they function? The chairman of those committees too should be investigated and should be prosecuted along with Emefiele for failing to do what they are supposed to do, because it is constitutionally required of them to play oversight role with respect to supervising central bank. And that's why we have said that, look, it's important for president to ensure that once they come into office, they do the needful. There are so many agencies of government that don't have governing board now. All the governing boards have been dissolved. I am sure that Emefiele must have exploited the opportunities when the governing board of central bank was not instituted to have carried out some of these atrocities he has committed. Now, as I speak with you, there are so many boards of federal government agencies and parastatals that have not been that have been dissolved, and the chief executive officer of those agencies will be operating like emperor, just like Emefiele and his director operated.
I'm actually tempted to ask, what will it take to get this money back from these countries? Well,
and just like Abacha keep giving, the question you ask is, why is it that, and that's why I love Obasanjo's approach. You know why we were able to get debt forgiveness under Obasanjo? Obasanjo went on a global trip and he told them that, look, in Africa, there is this saying, the greatest thief is the receiver of the loot, not the thief. Now, our people stole money. Your people accepted the money. And you said we borrowed money from, it is the money stolen from us that you people are giving back to us. So you have to forgive us. Alone, that's how we got their forgiveness. Because the Western world are culpable. Because if you and I want to travel outside of Nigeria now, they ask us to declare our whatever we have, the amount of money you can take as an individual. How do they allow illegal money to enter into their economy? And that's why I love what the Brazilian president said, the newly elected president, Jack Milley, that he said that, you know what, all of the policies of the IMF and World Bank are failed. Why do you have to go through that route?
I really wish we had more time to extensively discuss this. Quite an interesting topic. But thank you so much for joining me, Jide Johnson, on the news today.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you. And have a wonderful Friday.
You too.